you go from the Sea of Galilee through this valley, you'll see Magdala, just the corner of the town there, modern day Magdala. Off in the distance, we'll go later, is Capernaum. And then if you walk through this valley, and around this windy path here, you would go to the place where Jesus was known to come from Nazareth. You could also see how when the crowds followed Jesus, the Romans could have easily stood on a cliff like this and seen the 5,000 that Jesus taught and that he fed. It's amazing when you think about it that so much of what Jesus did happened right here in this valley, and that so many people would come and follow him. But I tell you, it's easy to see how, standing on this cliff, how people would be really attracted to someone doing the things that Jesus did, and how they would be able to see the crowds follow him, and how they would be intrigued by it and be able to almost run down the hill, even just right down this hill. We are right here in Capernaum, which is where, after Jesus was driven out of Nazareth, where he spent his ministry, he really established his ministry base right here in this place. And right off of the shore is Peter's house. And we are 90% sure that this is his house. In the early centuries, there's a synagogue just 100 yards from here that is now a 7th century synagogue, which we'll look at in a minute. But right in front of that is Peter's house and a neighborhood that was there. And in the 3rd and 4th centuries, when Christian pilgrims came here to see this place, instead of worshiping in the synagogue, there were people that were worshiping right there at Peter's house. And so they knew that was where Peter was. There's so many great things that happened in Peter's house. That is where his mother-in-law was healed by Jesus. And also in Peter's house is probably where they were when Jesus was teaching. And they brought the paralytic to be healed, and his 4 friends carried him right on top of the house. I have a totally new concept of Peter, and a totally new concept of the sea, because right here where we are is where Jesus probably stood on the shore. And right here is where he spent some quiet mornings, I would imagine, to pray. And Peter's house is right off the shore. So instead of being a poor fisherman, as we sometimes think, probably he was one of the more wealthy people, one of the more influential people right here in town. And his house is right off of the shore. So it makes a lot of sense to me now how Jesus would really choose Peter to be one of the key leaders in the local church. This is how close we are from the sea to Peter's house. You see the large building on top of it there? That was actually Byzantine. It's a Byzantine church that they built over top of the site of Peter's house. And then in the 3rd and 4th centuries, Christian pilgrims came and they were worshiping, people were worshiping right here. Right there at Peter's house. That's how close it is. We are looking now into the excavated site for Simon Peter's house. It's astounding when you look at his home, the different areas. The central area, which is where they believe Peter actually lived, in his room with his wife, and they built the church right on top of that. And then across the way over here is the synagogue, built in the 7th century and built on top of the site of other synagogues that have been there in the past.